Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Department of Justice is out with a new sanctuary jurisdictions list, and once again, San Diego County is on it. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The U.S. Attorney General is promising litigation against those jurisdictions, which also includes the state of California. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen joins us from the newsroom. Alex, I understand that this list is different from one released earlier this year.
Maya, that's right. There were four local cities on the list, but the Homeland Security list put out a few months ago, and several of them protested on being on it. That list was taken down shortly after being released. This new list from the Justice Department is a lot shorter, and San Diego is the only border region on the list. The DOJ has vowed to bring legal actions against the states, cities, and counties on the list. It claims these jurisdictions have policies, laws, or regulations that interfere with federal immigration enforcement. In a statement, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says these sanctuary policies put Americans at risk. She says the Department of Justice will continue bringing litigations against sanctuary jurisdictions and work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to eradicate these harmful policies around the country. Back in April, President Trump signed an executive order telling the DOJ to produce a list of places that it believes are obstructing federal immigration law. Under the order, jurisdictions on the list are supposed to be notified. Today, San Diego County Supervisor Paloma Aguirre says she didn't know if the county had received a notice, but she says it was clear the Trump administration is targeting immigrants and immigrant communities.
As the only border county of that list, we understand the border, we understand that the only real border crisis that exists here is the border sewage crisis that is harming tens of thousands of families.
There is no specific definition of a sanctuary jurisdiction, but the term is often used to refer to communities that don't cooperate with immigration enforcement. Under California Senate Bill 54, state and local law enforcement agencies are prohibited from assisting federal law enforcement agencies in immigration enforcement. The Sheriff's Department has not yet responded to a request for comment, but has previously said it follows state laws. It is unclear at this time what being on the list means for the state or the county, but there is a fear that Trump could use the list as justification to withhold federal funding. In the newsroom, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News. Back to you.
Thank you, Alex. Now, states usually redraw congressional district boundaries once every 10 years based on updated census data. But Texas Republicans are attempting to redraw districts now ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. Reed Binion reports on how the political battle could grow beyond one state.
Don't mess with Texas.
Democratic officials and lawmakers across the nation warning that Republicans' effort to aggressively redraw congressional districts in Texas will be met by comparable changes in blue states.
Don't mess with democracy. You can gerrymander the hell out of that map. Guess what? Two can play that game.
That's right.
Other states will do exactly the same thing and neutralize what you're trying to do in Texas.
The redistricting effort could deliver Republicans 5 more seats in the U.S. Congress ahead of the midterm elections, but Democrats are threatening to fight back in kind.
We're going to fight fire with fire, and we're going to do everything we can right now to stand up against this unconstitutional power grab.
Some Democratic governors are weighing options to retaliate with their own mid-decade redistricting efforts.
I'm exploring with our leaders every option to redraw our state congressional lines as soon as possible.
Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul promising to fight.
This is a war. The gloves are off. And I say, bring it on.
In California, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom said if Texas Republicans move forward with redistricting, he would aim to put a new congressional map before California voters in a November special election. For their part, some Republicans argue the Texas redistricting effort is a response to Democratic partisan gerrymandering.
Quite frankly, California is more gerrymandered than the maps that we're talking about today in Texas. All the other Democrat states are doing it. The state of Texas should as well.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
As you just heard, the redistricting fight could have a huge impact on California. California has 52 congressional districts. All but 9 of them are held by Democrats. If Texas goes through with its plan, California leaders have threatened to all but erase most Republican districts. Local Republican leaders warned that any redistricting could further erode what little representation is left in the state.
Gavin Newsom wants to take it even further and eliminate up to 5 more seats. That would cut our congressional delegation in half, sending Republicans representatives in Washington, D.C. only 9% of our representatives.
The Office of Republican Representative Darrell Issa sent our media partner KGTV a statement saying he doesn't believe the will of California voters who established the Citizens Redistricting Commission back in 2010 should be overturned. He wrote, quote, "A partisan political gerrymander is not what voters of California want."
Weather headlines here over the next couple of days. I'm tracking lots of sunshine. We're actually going to see warming conditions here as we head throughout the next couple of days. But overall, I'm also tracking great weather for both your Saturday and Sunday. I'm also tracking some record-breaking temperatures off to our east. The desert Southwest will see temperatures climbing to about 115 to 118. I'll detail that updated forecast coming up.
President Donald Trump claims massive revisions to the latest job report was a scam without evidence. He also accused one of the top overseers of cooking the books in a vendetta against his presidency. Ivan Rodriguez breaks down what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is and how the jobs report really works.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics collects data on a number of key economic concerns and produces critical reports on prices, inflation, and unemployment. The data is then used by businesses, investors, and government organizations like the U.S. Federal Reserve to make critical decisions. But Friday, President Donald Trump abruptly fired the commissioner of the BLS, Dr. Erica McIntyre, accusing her of rigging the latest jobs report for political purposes. Former BLS Commissioner William Beach, nominated by Trump in his first term, says that's impossible.
The commissioner doesn't do anything to collect the numbers. What I think really upset the president on Friday were the revisions to May and June.
The BLS's initial monthly jobs estimates are often based on incomplete data, so they are revised twice after the initial report, followed by a preliminary annual revision in August and a final revision in February.
BLS is the finest statistical agency in the entire world. Its numbers are trusted all over the world.
The BLS collects jobs data in 2 separate surveys. The first is done in part with old-fashioned door knocking. A second survey is collected from thousands of businesses and government agencies via telephone, internet surveys, and for large corporations through an automated data transfer.
President's attack on the commissioner and on the Bureau could undermine that trust over the long term.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
For years, election results and polls have been a steady reminder of how divided Americans are as a nation. And it begs the question, do we still share the same civic values? KPBS's Amita Sharma asked San Diego thought leaders about those values and why they still matter, and she joins me now. Welcome, Amita.
Oh, it's good to be with you, Maya.
So tell me, what prompted this series on civic values, and what did you focus on?
Well, as you know, I've been on this democracy beat for about a year now, and what I've noticed is that at the core of almost every single piece I've worked on is a struggle over key values like empathy, truth, authenticity, power, ethics, love, the agape form of love. And so I decided to take a closer look. And before I tell you what the series is, I want to tell you what it's not. It is not a dissertation or a thesis on each of these values. It is a very broad look at these values through the eyes of a scientist, philosophers, a religious leader, and their insights are profound. On the topic of empathy, neuroscientist William Mobley tells us that the parts of the brain that get activated when we are in distress are the very same parts that switch on when we see other people in distress. And if we do not react, we do not respond with empathy and compassion, we pay the price.
We become this muted thing, this blurred personality, this kind of turned off part, and we become, our bluntedness really impacts the way we think about ourselves and our family, and even things we might be able to fix, we may not take as seriously because, after all, the world's all screwed up and it's not my fault.
Among these values, there's overlap and common themes. One is we as a society are not doing well with any of these values, such as agape and ethics. The inequality gap is evidence of that deficiency.
Economically, we're seeing the distribution of wealth upward at the expense of the poor. But to cut Medicaid, to cut food stamps, to cut health care and take that money and give it to rich people and corporations, that is obscene.
Another theme is the importance of talking to people who we disagree with politically. And the third is that the very values that infuse our individual lives with meaning and purpose are the same ones that are good for democracy. And if we are collectively lacking in those values, they become our weaknesses. For example, UC San Diego philosophy professor Craig Callender says if you want to restore ethics, part of the solution lies in dealing with the symptoms that illustrate how it's flawed.
If you tackled inequality, you would tackle these kind of vulnerabilities that lead to this kind of meanness. And that really, so tackling the big system is really the way to go.
Of course, Americans' struggle with civic values is not new. The Declaration of Independence said all men are created equal at a time when slavery was endemic, what may be uniquely American and a roadblock to strengthening civic values is our society's commitment to individualism. UC San Diego sociologist Richard Mattson says, while that has unleashed enormous creativity, productivity, and prosperity, it also impairs us from understanding our interdependence and fixing collective problems like climate change.
What you see today is the way in which this disposes people, as de Tocqueville said years ago, to withdraw into their small circle of family and friends, and makes it difficult to understand the public things and to appreciate them and to recognize the need of them. Public things, public schools, public television, okay? Public everything.
And Maya, Mattson says that we have got to come to terms with our interconnectedness and really absorb that these civic values make human life better. And just as an aside to close this out, I was at a local coffee house early one morning this week, and one of the baristas, a guy who's in his 20s, asked me what I was working on, and I said, oh, I'm working on truth, love, and empathy, sort of tongue-in-cheek, and he looked at me and he said, oh, the things that matter. And I thought, that's a very sweet thought, a nice thought.
I love that story. Thank you so much. Things that matter. And also you had some great voices in that story. We appreciate you, Amitha. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya.
And this is part of a story. This story is part of our Public Matters initiative. You can learn more about it on our website at kpbs.org/Public Matters.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, we speak with the cousin of an Israeli hostage seen in a recent Hamas propaganda video. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
A new app aimed to help connect people seeking shelter with available beds seems to be paying dividends. Shelter Ready launched countywide back in June, and it allows outreach workers to find and reserve shelter beds in a matter of minutes, opposed to the hours or the days that it took in the past. According to North County Lighthouse, they've helped over 300 people find shelter through the program. The district attorney's office funds the app. They say it'll cost just $300,000 for every city to adopt it at no additional cost to the individual cities.
It's a proven technology, not a guesswork, but the other part of it is it's going to feed transparently into a data lake, and we'll be able to advise all these mayors where is it they need to spend their limited money resources.
And the district attorney says the goal is to have the app implemented in every city in the county by the end of the year. A retirement research journal says Oceanside is the second best place to retire in California. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne looked into why the city ranked so high and what it's doing to help seniors and retirees thrive.
The study from Retirement Living took a look at California's senior populations, home prices, and tax rates to help determine the best places to retire. The city of Oceanside came in at number 2 because of the number of seniors living there and the local economy. Jailene Montero is a spokesperson with the research group.
And where Oceanside stood out the most was 1 in 5 residents living in the city are over the age of 65. And that's one of the highest senior populations in the state.
But a high senior population doesn't necessarily mean Oceanside is affordable. The journal found median home prices in Oceanside are around $850,000 and monthly rent around $2,200. Montero says the high cost of living comes with a trade-off.
So you're paying for coastal living, you're paying for a higher quality of life, a lower poverty rate overall, which means typically well-maintained neighborhoods and public services, a local economy.
Mary Kelly agrees.
Well, I retired in '94 and I moved here that year. And I've been here most of the time since for the last 20 years.
She says the city has become more senior-friendly over time.
I do Tai Chi. And I also we have little programs sometimes like drumming, and I did that and I love that.
And the city wants to become even friendlier to the aging population.
Oceanside partnered with San Diego State University's Center for Excellence in Aging and Longevity to develop an age-friendly action plan.
Jocelyn Protopapas is the special projects manager.
Every single step of the process is looking at what is already in place in that municipality to help support an age-friendly community, and then getting feedback on where there are gaps.
The survey found seniors wanted more communication on resources and information on disaster preparedness.
50% of residents who completed our survey and attended the listening sessions noted that they didn't know what to prepare in case there was an emergency. They weren't clear on evacuation routes, what should they do with their pets, where should they go.
As a result, the city already rolled out disaster preparedness courses, even before their action plan has been drafted. Information that came in handy for Mary Kelly in the recent tsunami warning.
Things they told us to do, I actually did. I went to the bank and got money. I filled my car up with gas, and I threw a blanket in my car, just in case.
Mobility and accessibility are also issues that often keep seniors from attending events like concerts at the park. Manuel Gonzalez is the director of Oceanside's Parks and Recreation. He says having a plan in place will help address some of those barriers.
This process of going through and becoming an age-friendly city has really helped us to start to look at things from a different perspective so that we're a more inclusive city.
The city is expected to have an approved age-friendly action plan by the end of this year.
Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Well, temperatures are forecast to reach between 90 and 115 degrees in San Diego County beginning tomorrow. Pharmacists are warning that extreme heat could make some mail-order medications unsafe to use. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco explains why common prescriptions can lose their effectiveness.
Millions of Americans rely on mail-order prescriptions. Pharmacies like CVS say they use weather-adaptive packaging to help keep medications safe in transit. But those medications can sit for hours in hot delivery trucks or on doorsteps.
Many of the injectables are just very small proteins that can be completely inactivated by high temperatures.
Candice Morello is a professor at UC San Diego's Skaggs School of Pharmacy. She says heat poses a risk for medication like insulin, inhalers, or EpiPens.
And so that's part of the reason that while mail order medications are very convenient, we really need to help make people aware that these high temperatures can destroy the active ingredients in several of these injectable agents or in inhaled agents as well.
Even with insulated packaging, Morello says if medications sit outside too long, you may not realize there's a problem until your body reacts.
They might stay outside for 12 hours or 18 hours. And then if the patient uses the drugs and the insulin, if it's not effective, the glucose will just rise. So that's where we see, I get a call, it's like, oh, my insulin's not working.
She's seen cases where heat-damaged medications have led to ER visits.
Some of the patients who are most vulnerable are those who live in areas such as inland San Diego, where often the temperatures soar above 100 or, at 90s, 100s in the summertime.
Especially those who are elderly, immobile, or live alone. For those who rely on life-saving medications, Morello says don't let them sit outside too long.
So you definitely want to make sure that either you collect it or you can arrange for someone else in your household to collect it when it becomes available, and then store it properly in the refrigerator right away.
If you're unsure of how to store your medication safely, she says your pharmacist can help. Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
The National Weather Service is reversing course and is now rehiring hundreds of its workers. More than 500 employees were let go or forced to retire by the Department of Government Efficiency earlier this year. The NWS will now hire 450 meteorologists, hydrologists, and radar technicians. An official says the rehires will include 126 new positions that were previously approved and funded.
As we head into tonight, I will be tracking low clouds near the coast. Overnight temperatures will be in the mid-60s. Across the rest of the region, we'll see temperatures primarily in the low to mid-60s. It looks like we'll get down to 61 tonight in Oceanside. The closer you get to the coast, the more cloud coverage you're going to see here as we head into the overnight hours. Future track radar is showing that right around 6 a.m., that's when we're really going to start to see that cloud coverage working its way onshore. But overall, we're going to see a clearer start than what we have been seeing here these past couple of days. That 9 a.m. drive into work, for the most part, mostly clear. We'll see the cloud coverage there barely offshore, but overall it's going to be a nice stretch of weather here as we head near Wednesday afternoon. Now, late Wednesday afternoon, there will be some showers and storms here across parts of the Four Corners. We'll also be watching out for record-breaking temperatures here across the southwest as well. So some areas will see record-breaking heat, others will see some showers and storms, but across Southern California, we're not really going to see neither. We're going to see pretty calm, pretty mild conditions here over the next couple of days. Here's the overall setup. We're going to see breezy conditions that are across Vegas and southern parts of Nevada, but across the Four Corners, it's all about the heat. Record-breaking heat in the forecast, but across the southwest or Southern California, we'll see temperatures primarily mix of upper 70s to low 80s. Pretty nice weather here this time of year. 80 for Oceanside, 79 downtown San Diego. We will see some triple digits there, especially into the desert areas, and that triple-digit heat will persist here as we head throughout the next couple of days. Here's a look at Thursday's forecast. It's just sizzling there across the Four Corners heading into the weekend. So for that coast 5-day outlook here, extended forecast, we'll see temperatures in the 80s for the next couple of days, but a little bit of a cool down is what we're calling it, dipping into the 70s there for Saturday and Sunday. The inland forecast will be in the 90s, mid-90s for Thursday before we dip into the 80s by Sunday. Mountain forecast, we'll also see temperatures dipping as we head into the weekend before they rebound on Sunday. And then for the desert, staying in the 115 range before we dip as we head into the weekend.
San Diego is home to the latest in on-demand military 3D print manufacturing, at least for the duration of one global military exercise. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer has more on what it means in the here and now and in the future.
With this technology, you can basically make parts here on demand when they're needed.
Melanie Lang is the co-founder and CEO of Form Alloy, a 3D printer manufacturer based in Spring Valley. She's at Naval Air Station North Island today as part of Trident Warrior, a globe-spanning military exercise. Lang's an aeronautical engineer. Her company is among several helping the Defense Department figure out the best way to get reliable replacement parts in the field, in some cases by troops printing the items themselves. These aren't your normal hobbyist 3D printers creating Warhammer figurines or bootleg Legos out of plastic. These are specialized parts made from metals and alloys like titanium and steel.
So you typically can get better material properties with our process than you would get with a casting.
Lieutenant Colonel Michael Redigan works with the Marine Innovation Unit. He's part of a naval postgraduate school group trying to help integrate advanced manufacturing technologies in the military operations. He says the technology is there.
The qualification piece with additive manufacturing is really, really important. But if you've been out on an aircraft in the last 5 years, you probably flew on an aircraft that had an additively manufactured part.
San Diego is home to several companies like Lang's that Radigan says are uniquely positioned to help get these technologies into troops' hands.
So San Diego has absolutely been a manufacturing powerhouse for us, and one of the reasons that we wanted to be here for this particular exercise. We have access to capabilities that don't exist in any other part of the country.
Radigan says printed components and parts are already making their way to military vehicles and equipment. It's exercises like this that helps leaders figure out how to fully integrate the technology. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we are working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. A new law firm formed this week with a mission to challenge President Trump's executive power. NPR's Morning Edition spoke with one of the firm's lawyers about the legal void it intends to fill. And a San Diego icon turned 100 years old this year. KPBS Midday Edition takes a look at Belmont Park's past and future. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.